Hi, this is Don Allen. Today we're going to discuss misconceptions in problem solving. We have a short outline today. We're going to talk about what a misconception is, how to fix them, things to do and things not to do, and then we'll sum it up with a few conclusions. We have to begin with how your brain solves problems. There are several components to the way your brain works, and we'll go through them all. There's about 6 in total. Beliefs and faith. You have a set of these, know it or not, deny it or not. They serve as the guideposts on how to view problems and to resolve difficulties. These are your strongest brain components. Random. When all else fails in solving a problem and all considerations, what do? You throw the dice. This means you just take a guess. We've all done this many times. The analytic part of your brain is the logical part. It channels you through the issues using the strengths of deduction and induction. You try hard to use accepted logical rules to make conclusions. But as important, if not more important, certainly at the beginning of problem solving, is your instinct and intuition. You have a sense of what to do. It just comes to you. Your brain is helping you. You have to react quickly, so you rely on your instincts of what to do. Programs. What's that? Well, through your life, you carry out certain complex actions. In the beginning, they're slow. It takes you time. While at one time you used other tools to draw conclusions or actions, you now rely on a set of internally programmed steps. Basically, you program yourself. Emotional. You make a decision or you solve a problem based on purely emotional grounds. You feel this is a proper recourse and decision because you know in your heart this is correct. Those 6 tenets form how your brain considers problems. But in the idea of misconceptions, we have to really get to what they are on some common ground. And the first place to start is a dictionary, where we have that a misconception is a mistaken idea or a view resulting from a misunderstanding of something. This is kind of vague, but it's pretty clear. There's a misunderstanding somewhere, and you think something is true that is not. Now, on a more academic or scholarly note, we may say certain misconceptual relations are that are acquired may be appropriate within a certain context. This is even more vague. What is a misconception? Misconceptions are often rooted in the human belief systems, not in the analytic or logical systems. The analytic and logical systems won't support misconceptions. Belief systems are resistant to change through traditional instruction or self-instruction. Students tend to be emotionally and intellectually attached to the misconceptions, partly because they've actively constructed them. And they provide ready methodologies for solving the various problems that come to them. This is particularly true in math and social relations and so forth. Misconceptions definitely interfere with learning when students use them to interpret new experiences, or in our everyday life when we interpret events through the lens of our misconceptions. Some misconceptions arise from informal knowledge and learning, and certainly from improper teaching. So there's a lot of ways you can load up your mind with misconceptions, and once they're there, they're hard to root out. Many misconceptions are apparent in algebra, and they are rooted in misconceptions of arithmetic. In fact, most arithmetic misconceptions have an algebraic counterpart. This is more toward the math end of misconceptions, which are actually far easier to analyze than the misconceptions in our day-to-day life. Here's an example of one. It's sort of amusing. The question is to find x. The teacher assumes you're going to use the Pythagorean theorem to find that x is 5, but some student just writes, here it is, I found x. How to identify these misconceptions? The problem of identifying them is just plain not easy without teacher-to-student interaction or without your personal introspection on what you believe to be true. You can use precision testing instruments, though there are not many available. And certainly face-to-face interactions with teachers may help. Those teachers are tuned to identify misconceptions, but believe me, it takes time to identify these things, as opposed to just identifying some misunderstanding of students or knowing something wrong. The fundamental problem is this: the difference between misconceptions and non-understanding and just wrong knowing is not entirely clear, and nor is it easy to identify. In fact, we have these three categories. They're all quite similar. There's the misconception, and that is you believe you know what you're doing, but it's wrong. There's ignorance. You don't know how to do something, and so you do something wrong. And misremembering, and that is to use a rule incorrectly. And believe me, the memory plays a big role in these and how you use it. How to re-educate away from misconceptions? Well, once rooted in the student's memory, misconceptions are not easy to erase. They are in there for the long haul. This situation is very complex. The answer to eliminating misconceptions has neither been studied, has been researched, and most importantly, is not well known. All we can offer here today is tips. What to do. It is helpful to confront students or yourself with counterexamples to misconceptions. That is, if they believe in error, something is wrong, they need to see that it's wrong through some example. In short, students need to self-discover their misconceptions. Then they are ready to relearn materials. But the key to eradicating misconceptions is this concept of self-discovery. Society also has many misconceptions. Problem solving is incorrectly viewed as a collection of rigid rules and procedures that seem unrelated to each other and require mastery with little or no understanding. This is quite untrue. The problem solving requires a deep mastery. Problem solving is perceived by many to be difficult and demanding, and is considered to be a subject in which it is socially acceptable to do poorly. This is not true. If you are not a good problem solver in this subject or that, social relations, for example, or politics, for example, that's not socially acceptable. Misconceptions are a key part of problem understanding or lack thereof. They're often overlooked or ignored. They're part of everyone's thinking, and problem solving is only tangentially associated with misconceptions, but solving problems requires an absence of misconceptions. In fact, you cannot solve problems accurately or correctly if you are applying misconceptions toward the solution. In summary, we can say many students can pass courses having only a very slight depth of knowledge. This is true. Many students have fundamental misconceptions in their understanding, and they persist for decades. And finally, perhaps we are teaching students to merely pass courses, but not understand the subject, which allows their misconceptions to remain in place and never to be erased.